share a screen. Do you guys see that?
It's got like two squares that are kind of nested.
Yeah.
I can only do one. Yeah, two squares, you know. All right, Mr. Puckett, we are back again, aren't we?
Yes, Mr. Barry, we are back again. How are you been?
I've been doing well. Seems like every time we're together, we talk about some cool new bit of tech, and specifically on all the wonderful things that Azure can do for our customers.
Yeah. You think we have something to do with that, but I guess you and I really don't. We have to talk to other people about it. So.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So as everyone knows, on every one of these episodes, we get on and talk to some of our distinguished colleagues and some of the cool things. Yeah, okay. Yeah, distinguished. Yeah. Well, we're distinguished now that we got the gray hair going.
Oh, I do say so. Do you like my beard?
Yes, yeah. So we bring in our colleagues and have them chat up a bit about what they've, some of the cool things that they've done with Azure and how they've used Azure to solve some of the world's problems. And today we have Melissa on the phone. Melissa, thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Don't listen
the coffee is good.
Yeah, so I understand you've done some cool stuff with bots. So,
I have.
Okay.
I'm a data and AI CSA, and I do a lot of things with my customers trying to make life easier for them and their customers. But one of those is that, everyone's always very busy, both from an enterprise point of view as well as just trying to make customers happy and be in touch with them point of view. So I actually have a couple of different retail customers that have started to capitalize on bots and how all the different ways you can build one, all the different ways you can use them. How can I make my life easier with them? So there's actually quite a few ways that people probably are using them and they're not even aware that they're talking to a bot. But today I wanted to talk about just doing a very basic, very easy conversational Q&A bot that, without a lot of coding that you could actually build and have up in 15 minutes or less. And then if you guys like me and invite me back, then the next time we could do something, super fun.
Okay. I like the sounds of that. Yeah, so
I think the dangler, right? This is what we call the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Just a preview.
the last episode of the season before the
right. I need to put a Starbucks cup somewhere.
No. So explain to me bots. Is it an acronym? Is it for something, or is we shorten because it's cool instead of robots? Bots. Explain.
Basically.
Is this Skynet? This is not Skynet.
It's Skynet.
Oh, good.
Chatbots. So chatbots are part of Azure and Cognitive Services. And if you want to go with the Skynet idea of it, it's built on machine learning. But the idea is giving you the ability to chat with that Cognitive Services machine learning technology.
Okay.
So you're having a conversation with a bot. So I guess in a way with Skynet.
Yeah.
But not as nice.
No.
It's nicer.
Nice.
So, it's the technology that fuels essentially a chat between an end user and some knowledge base.
Great. Cool. All right.
So all that's fun.
Yeah, so when I think of bots, I think about calling credit card company and the little touch tone thing that you have to go through guided menus that are infuriating and frustrating. And
right.
When you talk about conversational bots, that's taking it up a level where you can actually be more engaging and ask questions and provide an order number maybe and have the bot be smart enough to know where to go to get that order information and maybe retrieve bits of it and say, is this the order you're talking about? So we're talking about a much more sophisticated level of interaction than just press 1 for talking to customer service. So.
Press 2 to make an appointment. Yes,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
The idea is to, fuel those types of conversations, but make them quicker and more efficient, as well as self-learning, so that if you've introduced a new piece of information that, wasn't necessarily there before, that if it helped resolve an issue, customers that, chat after you can learn from that. And it can make customers more effective. You can free up, say the call center idea scenario that you brought up. It will allow people to have more free time to function on other things, or to kind of hit those easy questions that, you could find just from searching, but sometimes, finding it on a web page is difficult. It's also great for people that just, may not necessarily understand the technology or fat finger or something and get stuck in that infinite phone loop like you brought up, and you're like, I hit 6, I hit 4, I'm on number
0, 0, 0, 0. Yeah, that's what I use.
So you talked about learning with the machine learning pieces. How intelligent does the bot start off with? Is there a process that you teach, or do you already have a basic set of language dictionaries that it already understands and knows and it builds from?
So with the machine learning, like at a general level, when you have machine learning, there's an element of training data and then there's testing data. But with the bot, you are actually training it based on data that you supply. So it could be something that's a PDF. It could actually be an FAQ website. When I build one today, I'm going to use one of Microsoft Security's websites that's public. So there's lots of different ways.
Could you put Ryan in front of it? Would it learn from him, or is that not high enough?
Actually, if Ryan wanted to, so the Q&A that we're going to look at today, it's based on questions and answers. Q&A, question and answer. So if he had common questions that he always answered for customers, like we all do, he could write down that question and then put the answer in, and we could actually build a CSA bot. We could build a bot of the three of us. And you can do that as easily as putting it in a Word doc or a CSV.
That would be comprised of like 2 or 3 sentences. But
you're like, what is your full name?
What day is it?
What is the time? It is now 12:02. Cool.
Right.
All right.
So this sounds really cool. So why don't we have you dive in a little bit and talk to us a little bit more about some background about what the Q&A bot is, and maybe we can walk through how to set one up.
Yep, absolutely. I have talk a little bit about just the overall platform. Real brief. I know everyone hates PowerPoint, and I don't want anyone to zone off. And then we'll go through building one very quickly.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Awesome.
All right, Melissa. So we talked about some of the common ways in which customers can use this bot capabilities in Azure to be able to allow them to streamline the way they interact with customers, or maybe to reduce the amount of time you have to wait on the phone, waiting for an operator to get your status in your order. Why don't you talk about some of the things that you've seen and work with customers to in making use of our bot capabilities?
So, in terms of a customer, your customer or mine or a new customer, using a chatbot really gives them an opportunity to reinvent themselves, to proactively, disrupt their industry, deliver a new customer experience. But you want to do that using technology. So chatbots give you the ability to innovate, that you can provide an outstanding experience to a customer that isn't waiting on the phone going 1, 1, 1. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, 1, 1. And, a lot of times they hang up, they don't call back. So you could lose revenue from that. So you want to improve that experience. The chatbot helps do that. The platform itself that you're going to develop on is actually a great one. It's actually very scalable. It's very adaptable. It's also great for people and enterprises that don't necessarily have like a huge dev shop. It's very easy to use. You can make it very simple, but yet delivers that great, outstanding experience that is data-driven intelligence that you are using You can also make it more complex. You can make them talk. You can make them recognize speech. There's all sorts of very cool things you can do to, capitalize on that data you already have to provide intelligent answers and experiences for your customers. And it will also allow you to continually innovate in terms of, right now you might just start with a very simple one that says, hey, here's how I start an order, or here's how I do an update. A lot of different customers in a lot of different ways can use a chat bot to have better experiences for their customers, either internal or external. But it doesn't just have to be that simple, basic conversation. It can evolve to a more interactive, a more intelligent-driven result. So here's one example I want to show you.
So it has context, so I can, if I ask it something, it knows where I'm at, and knows, kind of keeps track of
right.
In a more natural way than just, asking questions and having it reply.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It can do very simple things like that, like what we're going to do today. It can also do very complex things. You could say, I'm in Ohio and I want you to help me with airline booking. Help me find a flight from Ohio to Indianapolis to Las Vegas, and help me find a hotel near Las Vegas, and can you show me the reviews? It can do a multi-step process like that, but it can also do the very simple, just, answer my question. How do I do a security update? Or how do I start an online order? So there's a lot of different options with that. One of those is a well-known one that we talk about at Microsoft, which is Progressive. How many people know Flow? Raise your hand. I see everyone.
Yes.
So I can talk
Flow,
with her.
Right, exactly. You can have, and that's part of that data-driven experience, you can have Flow talk to them. And the nice thing about this is that the bot service, as I've talked about, that you can build it quickly and easily. You can also make it more complex. It also just doesn't have to be that, traditional web user interface. That's what we're going to make today. But you can also put it on different, what we refer to as channels. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move forward. But you could put a bot on Facebook. You could put one on Skype Messenger. There's a lot of different ways that you can actually provide that chat bot to your customers. And so Progressive uses the bot service and cognitive services to talk to customers, questions, even do some of that witty banter that Flow does. So you can actually tailor the type of conversation you want them to have. And we'll look at that when I create one later in terms of the different options you can do. And this is a great way to meet for retail customers and other types of customers to meet new customers as well as satisfy the ones they have that might be having issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
It seems like you could create your innovation at a, not just faster, but is at scale, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
If I'm thinking about, I had a bit of a customer service background, and, I'd hire agents to sit on a phone or sit on a chat line, but you can only hire so many people with so many seats. This seems like a more cost-effective way to do so. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. It's incredibly cost-effective because if you think about it, when you generally talk to some type of customer service or helpline, there's usually different levels. There's, that very basic, how do I, start an account? Then it becomes, well, I need to reset my password. And then it can become, well, I might have been having issues with this part. How do I change the settings? So there's various levels, and to that same conversation we had before, you're hitting different numbers. So I've been transferred 1,000 times by people that are like, oh, that's the next tier.
Not me. Let me hand it off. Yep.
Right. So it can give you that scale that, maybe your first 2 lines are handled by the chatbot. And a chatbot actually can transfer you. So they could say that, this is what I want to do, and they can try to handle it through that first level and then go, you know what, this is something that's more complex than you need to talk to an actual person. They can actually transfer you out. So you don't have to, the customer doesn't have to hang up, get off the website, go to a phone. They can actually stay in that one area, which makes it very scalable as well as very valuable and effective.
So does that transfer come off with like informational transfer as well? Like, here's how far I made it. Here's what the responses I got that I could complete so that the agent doesn't start over or does it kind of like a dead queue? It doesn't bring anything over and the agent picks up essentially like from square one.
It does bring that. That's a great question. It does bring that information over. You could set it not to do that.
Okay, cool.
I don't really know why you would want to outside of, privacy issues but yes, it can bring that history over, that chat history, so they can say, because we all know how frustrating that is to, go to a different line, have to tell them exactly again why I'm here.
So,
my name,
so the
my
person
number.
can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Mr. Puckett, why are you calling us about your late cable bill again?" So,
hey, late once, okay? Once.
Well, if Mr. Puckett wanted to call and say, "Look, I might want to lower a bill. Here's what I'm paying," when he gets to a different department, and they'll be like, "Well, what are you paying?" He'd be like, "I just told you that."
Right.
Yeah.
So that
Exactly.
information can transfer over.
That's really
So
cool.
this is, there's actually some very cool ways you could use this, and I'm sure there's thousands of ways our customers just haven't thought of, or we haven't thought of, and they just are trying out new things. So the bot.
You talked about something real quickly, if I may. You said privacy. Now, we're collecting information. How does the customer, when using a bot collecting sensitive information, how can they flag it? Does it get encrypted? What do we do with that? How does our services do something like that?
So it's all about options. So
Okay.
we talked about that if we want to be, very simple or very advanced, we can choose how to handle that and how certain things will get resolved and authorized. And we're going to look at some secret answers as we build these that will create connections between things so that's not just random moments. But
Cool.
yeah, there's absolutely lots of different ways you can do that.
All right. So it depends.
Right.
It depends. You can actually, you can make it very easy or very complex.
Gotcha.
So we're going to start easy because we want to, build a simple bot from scratch and start easy.
Oh,
so we can actually get complex. Maybe we'll take requests. We can have a voting.
Ryan, you're going to have to hang up. It's going to get complex.
No, he's good for that. Yeah. So we're going to talk. So some examples I have up are different options and some of my customers have actually used their bots in different ways. So some of them mainly focus their bots on internal customers. So, for everyone who's ever had to call the help desk, or the three of us included, you can report an IT problem. It can check the status. It can actually enter that information into a dashboard that, other people are tracking. So that information can be, used further down the line. Similar to the transfer concept we talked about, there can be smart documents that you build in terms of rather than, opening up a file or a folder and just searching through for specific words or things of that nature, it can help you do that. It can handle all the type of general, simple things we've talked about for, just traditional frontline questionings. Then it can also do, more advanced things that we talked about in terms of, identification of the customer. So to your question earlier, we could actually handle inquiries, but we have to validate who that person is. So I'm not getting on, my Ryan's bank and asking all these same questions, and they're not going to give me all these answers without me supplying the correct information.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not, going out and buying shoes with Ryan's money because they happen to be like, oh yeah, that's totally got to be him. Here's his account number.
I'm going to leave this one alone.
So those are just some examples. I have a large retail customer specifically that's using this in 3 different areas. They're doing the internal knowledge, and they're actually using it to fuel their third line customer support. So if they've gone through the first 2, they're using it to fuel that, but they're trying to eliminate waste with the first 2, and they're trying to be more effective to make it more valuable. As well as they are doing appointment booking for some new services that they're actually offering in their stores versus just answering, questions about orders or just how things are moving. And then right now they're working on a retail bot that will actually understand different languages, so that if they have customers in their stores that want to ask, where a specific item is, being able to handle different accents and cultural dialects and just all those different ways that people say things, just to be able to find that information for them.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So it is. It's very cool. My southern accent will throw things off, though. So the most important thing to think about with a bot, though, is just because we have this technology and it's, exciting, and you think of all the different complex ways you can use it, the best bots are the ones that are very simple and give a user experience that is accessible and effective. So having the ability to have different channels, having the ability to access it in different manners, and it being effective and fast. Those are the important things, because for the same reasons that people get frustrated with the traditional call-in support, people will get frustrated if we have that same type of delay. So that goes to, the effectiveness and the scale that we talked about earlier.
So you don't want a bot saying, I don't quite understand what you're trying to say. Did you mean this? and asking that over and over and over again. That could get frustrating. And so,
or the response of the numbers. Did you mean 1, 5, 8? You're like, right. Come on with it.
And if if there's a series of numbers, like, for instance, if we're trying to, get into Ryan's bank account again, when you type in those account numbers, if you do it too quickly, a lot of times it'll be like, you entered too little, you entered too many, and you're like, I entered the right amount. I swear,
Seems like
I did.
That it's funny that those 3 bullets, how many times you experience that the effectiveness is probably not what they're targeting. Is there one that kind of comes a higher priority versus the other? Priority, but tends to be where the value doesn't come through.
I think it depends on the customer. I think it depends on what their experience has been and what their complaints have been.
So are those like easy pitfalls then for them? It's like, if you said these are the 3 areas that, watch out for, or these are the goals. Are those also like the 3 biggest pitfalls, or easy pitfalls for customers in their first journey? Is like, we're not addressing the real need.
Right.
But
they're just doing it.
Yeah. Right.
People will just do it. They're like, I'm going to use a chatbot. Everybody and their brother has a chatbot. I want a chatbot. You want to have a chatbot. So let's talk about a value proposition. Yeah. If I was going to create a chatbot to if somebody wanted to talk to one of the 3 of us to ask questions, it could provide value in certain scenarios, but is it something that's necessarily always valuable? Is it always effective? And just because you can do it something doesn't mean you necessarily should.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Remember that, Ryan. You're not always just something.
Those are good words to live by.
Yeah.
You are valuable, you are accessible, and you're effective.
That's a different commercial. Sorry.
We can put it in your signature. Put it in mine.
There you go.
All right. So let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts before we hop through doing some things.
Sure.
So with the bot, what we refer to in terms of Azure and bots is that there is what we refer to as the bot framework. And with the bot framework, there is the bot builder, SDK, which gives you the ability to build and connect intelligent bots. It's very powerful, can be very easy to use. There's a lot of great samples out there. There's a lot of great templates. There's a lot of things on GitHub. A lot of people have tried to do different things. But building that SDK, that framework, allows you to connect to the Azure Bot service, which can help take a very simple bot and give it intelligence through cognitive services, through speech, through, Q&A, some of those things that we've talked about, so that you can engage your audience, your customer, what have you. You can have that ability. But those two have no value if there's not a medium for your customer to connect with you. And that medium becomes your channel choice. And we're going to do one through the web page, but you could talk to them, as I mentioned before, through Teams, through Skype, Cortana, Facebook. We're adding ones all the time. So if we wanted to kind of look at, what's the process of building a chatbot at a high level, these are the big elements that if we wanted to look at, what does the architecture of a bot look like? We have, the user input, and that is whether we're texting a bot. Has anyone ever done that on your phone? Whether it's, retailers just say, hey, I didn't get my order, or you delivered it to someone else.
Yeah.
Or
UPS is a good example of that. I just got a notification about a package that's coming today. So your package is going to arrive between 10:30 and 2:30.
Oh, so you got my special flowers. Oh, enjoy those.
Yeah,
I didn't get mine yet. I'll have to look. Week off, I'll go check. Oh, wait, where's the chocolate? I think it was chocolate. Or, like we talked about with examples of my customers before, speech. We could use images. You could, use round robin algorithms if you wanted to use Chuck Norris quotes. There's, a web service out there that actually just spits out Chuck Norris quotes. Not about using that.
That's actually
today.
Useful.
Yes.
It is. It's actually very funny. But some of that I didn't know would be appropriate for today. Maybe that's another.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I did think about it. But so your users give some type of input, and that input is received by the channel, whether it's Cortana, Skype, Facebook, Messenger, chat. There's a lot of different ways for your customer to connect to you, which is great. It's not just you have to go to a web page, mobile or whatever. And then from there, we grab the intelligent part. It's when we get smart. It's when we have, Bing searches and speech and Q&A, and we can translate different languages. We can try to do LUIS, which is language understanding. And we have the ability to train against different models and have things learn. And it's just all this smart brain activity going on behind the scenes that, gives that data-driven intelligence that I talked about earlier. So from there, this is where the businesses love it. How do I integrate this into business processes? Whether it's going out so all this information we're collecting from customers. So with my retail customer, they use it for, their help center, their help desk. So they've got, a couple of different ways that they're allowing user input through different channels. They talk, they give information, they ask questions, but a lot of times there's great insights or data, that feedback that they give. That feedback can actually be stored in, an Azure SQL Data Warehouse, or, can look at it through different reporting tools and lots of different ways to do that. But throughout all that, we have security, we have logging, auditing, all those great Azure tools are also built in and available with all of this.
Cool.
And the back-end side, I see on that, right-hand side, you have just about anything, outside of just storage, and you have if, then, and that. And I'm thinking about things like Logic Apps and Azure Functions, so you can have very easy, easy to build composable services that you can have. Somebody asks, "Where's my stuff?" and gives an order number.
Right.
Function could actually, look that up somewhere. What your ordering system. So plumbing all this together doesn't require a PhD, which I know you do have one. But
well, I almost have one, just basically to make my husband call me Dr. Lacefield. That's really the only reason.
I would be writing that on everything. I'm just signing my name, doctor.
So if it will be completed by October. So if next time we do a video, you guys can wear T-shirts with me. Well,
Nice. Okay. All right.
So this is the surface area and the connector service and the bot builder. This is just more
kind of showing how the stuff gets plumbed together. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Exactly. It's all the plumbing, all the registration. These are those three areas that we just looked at in terms of we have the framework where we build everything. We have the service that provides those connections, routings, gives us the ability to talk to the bot code, manage where we're at, whether we're giving up or we're saying hi. Because I'm sure everyone's had that moment where they've been talking to someone online, and it says, "Are you still there? Are you still here?"
Ryan does that with me all the time.
Yeah.
Have you had coffee? Should we hang up? What's going on? So this all is running in Azure. And then we have those different channels. These are some more that we haven't necessarily mentioned previously, but again, the channels are important, and you can have multiple channels for a bot. So you could have Skype, you could have Bot Builder, we could do all the different ways that you want to talk because they're independent. So, all right. Any questions so
The
far?
one thing that I was thinking, you mentioned text messages, and I know that, the common channels like, Facebook Messenger, Slack, a user interface and a website, Teams, and so forth. Is there a way to easily plumb in? I mean, I'm just trying to think how you could actually do that. To plumb in text messages.
The texts are they're a little more advanced. There's not an easy way to just do it out of the box, but you can. Call things and move them through. Yep. Yeah. Same way that I have a customer, another retail customer that is in the transportation industry. And what they do is it's not necessarily that the conversation is happening through the bot, but they're streaming sensor data about where their vehicles are. And that actually comes in. We stream it. We do a lot of fun stuff in terms of analytics and things of that nature. And then we actually will send out texts to them to let them know that information. And then they have the ability from that to come back and say, they can chat with a customer service rep to say, you know what, this flight isn't going to work, or this vehicle picking me up isn't going to work. I need to change it.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It can be plumbed in at different points. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So why don't we switch now to showing you how we actually do this.
All right. So let's see how to put this together.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at there's my screen. We're going to look today at the specific Q&A maker. And what the Q&A maker is it is a specific chatbot that is geared at creating FAQ service from existing content that a customer has. It's like we talked about in the very beginning, that it's looking at questions and answers, Q&A. So it's extracting pairs of these questions and answers from user-provided content, from documents, from editorial content to, just different PDFs that they may have that people have built over time. And what it does is it gives you the ability to test this information, to train it and publish it. And it publishes this Q&A FAQ that you've made as an API endpoint. And that API endpoint, is what actually allows you to connect and integrate with other solutions so that you can do things very simple, as we've talked about, as well as very interactive and advanced.
Okay.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to build a Q&A maker. And there we go. So these are actually two that I already have. So if I wanted to modify these or edit these, I could come through and do all of that. We're not actually going to do that. We're going to build a new one. So remember how I talked about this super easy? We can make it very easy, very simple. Make it quick and effective for, a customer that doesn't necessarily have a huge design staff. Say you had 4 people that work for you. You could have somebody build one of these based off a URL that you have or a PDF, what have you. I keep saying PDF. It could also be a Word doc. And you could do it very quickly and utilize it and publish it today, honestly. And that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is, quick quiz. Remember we talked about that we build a framework and we connect it to what? Service?
The bot connector service?
Is this a quiz?
No. It's just fun banter.
Oh.
No, it's a quiz. There's a prize at the end. Did you guys say that? Oh, did I first to say that, or did Ryan already take it? So,
you jerk.
Come on, squirrels.
Hey, Ryan, did you borrow one? You need to put it back. Because you had them up there on your wall. Put Chip and Dale.
Yeah, little chipmunks. Yeah,
you put Chip and Dale back in Azure.
They help me from time to time.
Oh, that explains a lot.
I know. Okay.
Okay. And the powers of editing will take out this delay.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we nail
it? Yeah, he will. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, we'll cut this out.
What is this deal today, dude? There we go.
Stare at it.
Okay. The power of editing. So once we've moved these over, we have created this Q&A service, and it's actually opened up a new window for us because it's trying to make things easier. And what it wants us to do is create a service. So for those of you who've been using Azure for a while, I'm sure you have all sorts of protocols that you use in terms of how you name things, and you're using the best practices, and you've read all those. For everyone else who hasn't, including myself, I like to name things intelligently so that when I have 1,001 different resources hanging out, I actually know what I'm looking at. So for this,
you don't name your stuff Junk 1, Junk 2. That's
I don't. So I tend to name mine something that gives me an idea, but then also gives me an idea of what it's actually talking about. So I'm going to make a service queue one in terms of service risk at Microsoft, and that's actually the URL we're going to use. And I'm going to use my internal Microsoft consumption subscription. I have access to different ones, but we're going to use that one. And then I'm going to pick a pricing tier. And then
I'm $10 a month, so not very expensive.
No, not expensive. And I'm actually going to create a new resource group. This is a best practice that I like to follow, that when I'm chatbots or, data warehouses or, machine learning, whatever, I like to create a resource that's kind of like a container or a laundry basket, if you want to think about it in a funny real world way. It's a container where I'm putting all my services. So if I was going to put all my darks in one area, it would be my dark resources group or my, what have you. I'm just trying to create a container around it to make things easy and logical. So I always label my resource groups, same way I kind of did service up there, with res groups first. And I'm going to put all the elements for this chatbot in there so that if I'm playing and I need to delete it later, or if I need to modify it, I know that all of my elements are contained in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, super easy to delete.
Right.
Azure knows how to delete everything inside of the resource group. If it's interrelated, it'll delete the edge or the leaf things first before it deletes the root. So yeah, definitely good practice.
And I'm going to put Ryan on there just to be.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
sucking up the Ryan. That's not cool.
Tried to no, we're not going to do that. Never mind. So then I picked another pricing tier. Since we're not doing anything huge, I'm going to do a low one. Have a search location. It's already pre-populated an app name for me based on the other elements that I've already put, so that intelligence will, continue forward. And then it's as simple as me hitting create, because I've hit all these green check marks previously, and I should have shown you that, made a point of that, show that, I've hit the different features in terms of deployment, and I'm calling it appropriate names and things that, will work out. So it's deploying. We can see that right here. So once that finishes, I actually will come back to this Q&A maker tab. Notice I don't necessarily have to, start over and bring it back. It's already like, oh, we stay here waiting for you. And what I can actually do is come to the second step and refresh this page. And what it's doing is, because I'm signed in, it's actually going back out to my Azure Active Directory ID, and it's going to say, I want to be on Microsoft. And then it's going to say, which subscription are you using? Because you've got access to a number of different subscriptions. Mm-hmm. And so remember, we saw 2 of those before. I'm going to have to scroll down a little. Once those actually get created, then I will actually see the different ones in there. And it's still deployed, so we should see this. There we go. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
So, and if you want to check that, oh, wait, did I make this the wrong one? You can actually come up here and say, look, this successfully deployed to this resource group. And if I actually wanted to look at my resources, I can actually click on my resources in Azure, which will take a minute today. And we can actually filter out all the things I don't want to see and filter in the things I do. So if I wanted to see what was actually in my resource group right now, I could actually look at those by just the resource group.
Right.
So that's one of the beauties of those things. So remember how we saw all those different areas previously? Now you can actually go back and, look at them in an easier way versus looking at, 100 different resources and services and trying to be like, was it that one? Was it this one? What did I do? And, when you start playing with Azure a lot, you will see that, because it becomes, addictive. You're like, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. So again, trying to make this very simple in terms of how we build this and doing all the internal architecture. So this is that area that I've been talking about where I keep saying, oh, we're going to, build based off of, a PDF or a Word doc or, an Excel spreadsheet. I'm actually going to use our URL for Microsoft. And if we actually go up here, we can see what it looks like. So this is the security update guide. And if you scroll through this and look at it.
Questions and answers, yeah.
Right, questions and answers. So that easily, and most customers have some type of this element already on their website. So they've already got that data. They just need to harness it. And I actually put that in the wrong box. I apologize. I should have named it first. That's my fault. So I should name that Q security. And I'll name it Ryan again.
Nice.
Just teasing. And so we populate it. So we've hit a number of steps. We created a Q&A service in Azure, which we did through that second window. We've connected it to this KB that we're going to populate by giving it authentication information, that it has my Azure Directory ID, it has my subscription name, as well as the service that I'm going to be using. I've named this knowledge base so that when I go back to edit it or look at it, I know where I'm at. And then I've populated that with information. Notice here that after I added that URL, I could add multiple ones. So it doesn't just have to be that one website.
Okay.
So if I wanted to do that, we could create, a more multi, turn moment. So that's all the important things that we have. Here's the fun stuff.
Chitty chat.
How do I want to talk to people? Do I want to be?
It doesn't have a Chuck Norris?
No, it doesn't. That would be great. And there's actually a whole document in terms of chit-chat personalities and how you can decide. You can just have nothing, where it's just kind of like, hey. You can do professional, very, black and white, great for most enterprises. But, some people build their retail brand on being, enthusiastic or friendly or witty or caring or, how are you today? Tell me how you feel. So we're going to do caring.
Okay.
Everyone needs a warm hug.
Well, then it wouldn't be labeled Ryan.
Oh.
We'll handle that next time. And then what we do is we click on this button, and it's going to create your knowledge base.
Cool.
So it's taking that information from that Q&A pair, and it's building it. This is going to take a little bit of time because it's a complex.
Doing some AI-ish things to the data that it's pulling in.
Well,
So what's the Q&A trigger? How does it detect do you have to have a certain format, or is it able to distinguish question mark with a sentence after that as maybe the answer? I'm curious. Oh,
there's a certain format you have to follow, and it will actually, during this process, it's crawling your content. Yeah. And if your content doesn't make sense, then it will say, look, this one won't work. We can't do this.
Gotcha.
I don't even know what you meant by that. So, yes, it actually crawls it as it's doing it, which is great because if you uploaded the wrong document and they're like, this is a takeout menu.
Yeah.
What's doing with this? Then that's not necessarily great. The other great thing is that we've talked about, making it very basic or making it advanced. You can actually, after you've loaded this document and just say, you've got funny questions you want to add, you can actually go in and add a Q&A pair in terms of, you could say, what's something funny?
How is Ryan's brain?
How big is Ryan's brain?
What? No, small. Okay, you're booted off the show.
I'm out. All right. Small is
Oh, boy.
Hey, I have to come back.
That's
all right. So then the answer would be
walnut.
Medium.
If small is big, then huge.
There you go.
Those are, you can do that continually. You can do it, to add in. You could add different documents, all sorts of things. So what we want to do is we want to save and train it. So since we added, information about Ryan's brain, or we wanted to just, edit things, make things a little more friendly, because a lot of times FAQs are, while we have the personality and how the chatbot's going to respond, it doesn't necessarily.
It's just going to do a verbatim, here's the answer. Yeah.
Right. So if we wanted to test this and say, let's say, hi. and it's going to say, hi there. So how are you? Yeah, very nice.
All right. This is so
I've been doing, notice I've been asking it full questions with question marks. You can also do a shortened version. So I just did, I gave it keywords. I gave it Ryan's brain, and it said the answer is medium. Yeah. I could also do that same thing with
MS-16.
Right. So, or if I wanted to do security update guide, if I can type today.
Right, thrown off your groove.
Right. But it's going to give different ways. And a lot of times you can ask different ones that can actually give links and things of that nature. And actually, there are some links in this. And if you click that, and we can get out from here, you can actually see that there are links that are embedded in this particular FAQ. Those will actually show up as hyper URL. So when we test it again, I'll ask it about the CVRF so you guys can see that. So we've created a service, we've created a knowledge base, we've saved it, we've trained it, we've tested it, we're all happy with it. So the next thing we need to do is set it free. We're going to publish it. So it's going to say, what do we want to do? So this is where it creates that API endpoint. And we're going to wait for it to do that. This is actually very normal. If it actually bails out quickly, that means that there's something going on that you have to rectify. And like, for example, as I talked about before, that it crawls your content. If it immediately comes back and is like, yeah, you gave me a takeout menu. So we've created this service. We've deployed it. Woohoo, we're exciting.
Nice.
So this is the easy part about, if I wanted to give this to my customers to access today, how do I do this? How do I see this in the wild? How do I pick a channel? What do I see with the channel? There's all of those different ways. So what we're going to do is actually create a bot. So again, the nice part about this service and this process is it does a lot of the lifting and the configuration and the settings for you. So as we wait for that to transfer that information over to the portal, you'll actually be able to see all the places where we can configure different settings and things of that nature, because it's grabbing all the information that we've just built in that portal, and it's going to give it to you to be able to create a bot.
That is cloud simplified to a T.
I would agree.
But, how many times have you guys
didn't lay down a single line of code?
No.
And that's where the genius, well, not the only genius of it, it's cognitive services. There's a whole bunch of genius going on. But it makes it, very accessible and very easy for customers to build.
Yes, which I think is one of the times, even when we started this subject, I was like, oh man, so much is going to go over my head. I'm not a developer by trade. So I'm not going to have much to contribute, but already I can see it's like, I think I could actually probably swing this. A lot of if you can curate the content for it pretty, to its format it likes, then I might actually have a shot.
Right. And so see, again, making this not writing lines of code. We've just been copying and pasting, URLs, things of that nature. It grabbed the bot name. It grabbed the subscription that I'm on. It has my resource group. So it's making it consistent. So I don't necessarily have to always come back and be like, no, you have to be there.
Right.
It's keeping all that consistency. It's creating a name. It's giving an authorization key in terms of making this secure. So we were talking about that earlier, and it goes through all of these options. And we've got all the green check marks for, hey, this is good. So what I'm going to do is click on create. It's going to validate everything again. And Azure does this no matter what service you're creating or what you're doing. We like to validate. We like to make sure things are correct, that we're doing the right things and that we're not letting you create a website named website.
Hey, Ryan, did you see that both times when she was doing this, it had the App Insights hook that you could deploy right along with it? So if you're wanting to look at performance statistics, we automatically put the telemetry in there for you if you want it, which is
Right, yeah. But you think about, I mean, under the covers, is it actually publishing an API that you can invoke from a web application, or is invoked by your channel that you wire up? So getting insights is on, where your callers are coming from, what the call times are, what the payload size. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And all those different Azure tools that you can use for other aspects, you can use them still with this, easy basic things like you mentioned, performance, security. What are all the things we're doing? All the areas we want to look at. See how many people hit your bot.
Yeah.
I mean, it will just be me today, but tomorrow it could be 300 users.
You had one customer.
One happy customer.
That brain's pretty small.
I'm going to be asking it over and over again to see if the answer changes.
I'm going to make a bet.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we've deployed. So I'm going to get out of my notifications. I'm going to go back to my resources, and we're going to do a couple of things. All right. So again, I'm going to filter because I'm a fan of filtering. Because if you notice, I've got all this, and that's not even half of it. So I always like to filter. So I'm going to learn to not click quickly. Okay, what is going on? Twink.
I think you have to toggle the top one to select all first,
and
then deselect.
Usually it does. It's not. You know what? It may be my mouse capabilities today. So we're just going to leave it with those two. There we go. That's what I want. Oh, we did do it. I'm sorry. We'll just do it by the resource group, and we're going to blame it on me. Because we're going to go to my resource group of Ryan, and we're going to filter there. Okay. So these are all the resources from that one page that we've created. And so what we're going to do is look at the bot. The actual thing we've been talking about and waiting for and hoping and praying for. All the fun moments. So what we can actually do here is we're going to test the web chat version and see. Again, we haven't written any lines of code with this, but we're actually going to test this and see, and then we're going to look at the different channels. So I'm going to, as it's loading up, it's taking all of those different points that we've looked at, and this is actually the messaging endpoint that if for the API, look, again, I don't necessarily have to do any writing of code. I can just copy it and, send that endpoint to wherever I need to.
Easy. Cool.
Very easy and cool. If the squirrels would just move.
So now you took the Q&A bot that you were testing previously, and this is the web endpoint that you can actually interact with messages. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So that testing that we did in Q&A before, we're actually going to do the same thing here. And notice,
yeah, cool.
Hi, it says hello there. Remember, friendly, caring. But you can see here, if you look down right above my mouse, it's referencing the bot. So if you build multiple ones and you happen to accidentally, not through the build process, but through editing, connect it to somewhere you don't think to, you actually get a level of validation here. So if I, again, wanted to say, we'll say brain, it's going to go, wait, medium. See? Look, I didn't even have to say breath. But if I wanted to...
So whose brain could it be referred to? Maybe Matthew's.
Yeah.
Give me a long-running joke. Or if I wanted to do CVRF, and so it can, again, just be those little keywords. But see, it's already given me a hyperlink without me having to necessarily format that within an iframe or do anything like that. It's giving me that information. So you can already redirect at a certain level your customers to more appropriate resources.
Okay,
so you can transfer them to, and then another support agent, or you could just say, look, if, say, for example, how do I create a new account? Or where do I fill out this form? They can say, here's that form and here's the URL. Go here. So easy peasy.
Yep, take my money.
Right? So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the channels. Actually, second to last thing we're going to do. We're going to look at the channels, and I'm going to show you an easy way to make a static web page with your bot. So this is a web chat. This is the default channel that you will get when you go through the process that we've gone through today. And you will actually get the lines of code that you can embed in a very simple index.html web page. It's going to give you, this is the iframe you need, and there's the secret here. It's a super secret.
Yeah.
It actually is giving you the ability to connect your key here to your actual code. So I could literally copy this, and then I could paste it in a web page. So I could also add a channel here. So I'm not actually going to, remember I said there were tons of different ones. So the direct line speech, and we're adding ones all the time. Facebook.
So I see Twilio there. So that's a way that's what I was thinking in the back of my head when I was talking about. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool.
Right. You can do email. You could do Skype. We're not actually going to do that, but just to show you what the interface looks like, you can actually use these web controls to embed it in your actual website, and you can actually get the code from here. Again, trying to make this as easy as possible when you start out. Another way that you can actually create something that makes life easier, and I'm actually going to get out of this resource group, and I'm actually going to go to my just a random storage account. So on the V2 version of just general storage, you have the ability to create a static website. So you could, again, trying to make this as easy as possible, create a static website, create an index.html page, and say a 404 that, says, oh no, you've errored something. And I've already enabled this one. You can actually just, you have the endpoint in terms of what you're going to make, and you could do something as simple as create a web page with, and I'm going to pull mine up. Oops, I hit it too many times. Hold on, there we go. And you could do this in Visual Studio. You could do it in Notepad. You could do it in Notepad Plus. You could make this as easy or as difficult as you would like. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm actually going to show you just I literally created a web page with 2 lines of code using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. And this is actually what it looks like. So very easy. Just did the traditional, hello world. And then you have the actual iframe. And this here is that secret code that we looked at before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you could, as you create different bots, you could just change that, and that code specifically creates that connection to your bot. And again, I know this isn't necessarily this part of it is not an enterprise solution, but I just wanted to show you guys easy ways that you can actually do this. And so the container that is made off the storage account has the ability for you to upload files to it. And you can actually upload that index.html file I made here, and then you would actually just reference those in your own website.
Yeah. So this is a poor man's web server of sorts, so you don't have to
this is not the ideal, but this is just, I wanted to show a super easy example on that portion of it, because while I used to write web pages a long time ago, I don't think any of the 3 of us aren't doing it day by day anymore.
Right.
The other part.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
But this is, again, an easy way to show you how you could build this very quickly.
Cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, so thank you very much for walking through some of the options for this, and it's certainly enlightening to hear some of the ways that your customers have made use of these capabilities to be able to solve some of their business challenges, and what you just showed today is a way that anybody can actually get started for look like $10 or so a month.
Right.
You have a Q&A bot.
Right. And it can be funny, it can be all sorts of things, but the idea is that it's effective, it's scalable, it's secure, and it gives value to your customers, to our customers.
Okay, well, thank you again very much, Melissa. This is just really cool. I'd be, I think I'm speaking with Matthew, or for Matthew as well, that it'd be great to get you on again and have you walk through, some of the more complex scenarios of making things more interactive, and maybe tying it up to a line of business system or line of business application. I know we talked about today just taking something fairly static and making it dynamic in nature or conversational, but there's a lot more that you can do with it, and I know that you're working with that you work with customers to solve some of their challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is just step one. Get it out there. See how you can use it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. It was great and entertaining.
Yes. Yeah. Likewise. I'm gonna get that URL and ask it repeatedly. How large my brain is.
That can be the title of the video. How large is Ryan's brain?
There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and hopefully this is helping our audience and simplifying the cloud.
Yep.
Awesome.